My dear students of class 10A and 10B, today in my class I would like to re-explain certain points of the First World War. This lesson this year is very important to you, my dear students. You have to keep all the points perfectly in your concept, in your mind, so that you can attempt any type of questions you are given. Some points, as I mentioned in the board, please look at it. The Treaty of Versailles, second point, main terms of the Treaty of Versailles, then the big three, aims and objectives of the League of Nations, and last point, League's future. In this book, there is no point like this, League's future, but what was about, but it is a part of that point, the formation of the League of Nations. What aims and objectives of the League of Nations? Formation of the League of Nations, it is not a part of our syllabus, but aims and objectives of the League of Nations is a part of our syllabus. So, what is the future of the League? That means the achievements of the League or drawbacks of the League. That one, from this point, question may come. So you have to keep in your mind one topic, one paragraph is there with the aims, with this topic, with this head, aims and objectives of the League of Nations. Now, my dear students, I am discussing about the Treaty of Versailles. You know, the Treaty of Versailles was signed in the year 1919 on June 28. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. It was signed as soon as the First World War ended in the year 1918. As soon as the World War I ended in the year 1918, the process of drafting of a peace treaty started by the three big powers. And in presence of them, the Treaty of Versailles was drafted, and the terms of the Treaty of Versailles were drafted. And it happened, that incident happened in a vast palace of France, the Versailles, the Palace of Versailles, and the vast hall of a place, Versailles of France, where the big three powers present. And on behalf of on behalf of England, on behalf of France, and on behalf of UK, their heads were present there. They drafted the Treaty of Versailles. Now, what are the main terms of the Treaty of Versailles? There are certain main terms of the Treaty of Versailles. For example, you know, the Treaty of Versailles, the terms of the treaty were really decided by three great personalities of the world. One was there Woodrow Wilson, President of America, USA. Another one was George Lord, George Lord, Prime Minister of England or UK. And another one, President of France, he was George Clemenceau. So these all Prime Minister of France, George Clemenceau, Prime Minister of Britain, Lloyd George, and President of United States of America, USA, Woodrow Wilson. In presence of them, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. But two other victorious powers, Russia, Soviet Union, and Germany, were excluded from the conference. They were not allowed to take part in the conference. They were not allowed to take part the debates and discussions before drafting the Treaty of Versailles. They were not allowed to take part in. But as a result of it, the discussions of the Paris Conference, means the place of the historic Versailles, the vast hall of historic Versailles, a place of France, in the capital of France, Paris. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. And now some terms of the Treaty of Versailles. There are certain points we have to mention. The terms of the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty declared Germany guilty of aggression. That's why Germany would have to pay the war indemnity to the Allied powers. The Allied powers had to spend a lot of money while continuing the war. That's why since Germany was declared guilty of aggression, declared to be guilty of aggression, that's why Germany had to make up their loss. How? For that reason, the terms of the Treaty of Versailles were drafted. Germany, according to the terms, Germany was required to pay for the loss and damage suffered by the Allies during the war, and the amount of reparation had to cede her merchant ships to the Allies as compensation, had to supply huge quantities of coal to the Allied powers. Since so many industries of the Allied powers were destroyed during the First World War, and Germany was fully responsible for it. That's why Germany had to make up the loss of the Allied powers by supplying adequate coals to their factories for their factories and industries. Another point is Germany had to evacuate territories. Germany had to evacuate territories she had captured during the war. Germany had to cede it. Germany had to cede the territories during First World War she occupied. Another one, German territory of Rhineland was to be demilitarized. German territory of Rhineland was to be demilitarized under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, and the territory west of Rhine Valley was to be occupied by all countries of the Allied powers. Germany was forced to return Alsace-Lorraine, which was occupied by her during the First War, before the First World War. Alsace-Lorraine, the most important territories of France, which were occupied by Germany before the First World War, during when Otto von Bismarck was there. The two important territories of France were occupied by Germany, and on the eve of adopting the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was asked to get back the most important territories of France, Alsace-Lorraine. And another thing was that Danzig was to be free port under the League of Nations. According to the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, it was decided that Danzig would be free. Danzig was to be free port under the League of Nations. Then another one, the coal mines in the German area called Saar were ceded to France for 15 years. Were ceded to France for 15 years because so many factories and industries of France also were destroyed by Germany. And that's why France strongly demanded the Saar. Saar means a place of Germany where large quantities of quarries there. So, in order to supply adequate quantities of coal to the factories and industries of France, France demanded Saar to be used by herself for a term of 15 years. And Germany had to accept that term. Germany lost all her colonies to the victorious allies, Britain, Belgium, South Africa and Portugal. And next one, German colonies in the Pacific and the areas under her control in China were given to Japan. China was aligned with the Allies during the war, but her areas under German control were given away to Japan. How funny it is. Japan also was benefited with the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, although the main term of Japan was recapture certain areas of China. Since the relationship between Japan and China was strained, that's why Japan also demanded it so before at the end of the First World War. Another thing is that Japan most important part, China's most important part also was handed over to the Allied powers. Why? Because of their economic loss. Financial stability also was ruined due to the negative role of Germany in the First World War. That's why Germany had to surrender. Germany had to surrender the areas of Eupen and Malmedy to Belgium. The city of Memel also went to the hands of Lithuania. And another point is that Germany lost all her territories, all her colonies and overseas possessions. And afterwards, German, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, earlier seized by Germany, but were now made independent. These all once upon a time seized by Germany, but these all were declared to be independent under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. German army was restricted to a force of only 1 lakh soldiers. The navy was limited to only 15,000 men and 36 ships only. And the air force was totally banned and no submarines were to be allowed. Another point, another terms of the Treaty of Versailles, that was the union between Austria and Germany was forbidden, and the Covenant of the League of Nations was added to the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty affirmed complete independence of Belgium and Poland, Czechoslovakia also, and Yugoslavia also. These all were declared to be independent. The Czechs got Silesia, Bohemia, and so important countries you no need to keep in your mind. But one thing that is to be mentioned is Germany was asked to surrender all her criminals, including Kaiser William II, declared as the chief culprit. Kaiser William II was declared as the chief culprit, and Germany was asked to surrender Kaiser William II, already who left Germany. When Holland refused to surrender him, the clause was later dropped. Ultimately, what happened? The victorious allies got possession of German merchant ships. Because some of the terms of the treaty, Germany was unable to accept it, unable to recognize it, because no one was there. The king of Germany left the country. Naturally, those who were power, they were unable, they were in the dark, what to do and what not to do. That's why they answered in the negative. Naturally, the victorious allies got possession of German merchant ships and other, wealth and other properties. And Japan was given mandate on the North Pacific island possessed by Germany before the war. So Japan also was benefited. Japan also was benefited with the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, as I mentioned earlier. So these are the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Now I would like to discuss in the shortest form about the big allies, the big three. Who were the big threes? As I mentioned earlier, the big threes were three countries of the world, were part of the Allied powers: France, UK and USA. On behalf of France, Georges Clemenceau was there, Prime Minister of France. On behalf of USA, President, Woodrow Wilson was there. And on behalf of UK, George Lloyd was there. These three countries' heads were collectively known as Big Three. Okay, they unanimously passed a resolution before drafting the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. But two important countries, two victorious powers, Russia, Soviet Union and Germany, were not allowed to be a part of that historic convention where the terms of the Treaty of Versailles were signed in presence of the three big powers. USA and Germany were not allowed to take part in it. But India during that time was not an independent country. It was a British colony. But on behalf of UK, on behalf of the Prime Minister of UK, George Lloyd, India's proposal was accepted. On behalf of the Prime Minister of UK, George Lloyd, the proposal for getting India involved in the process of signing the Treaty of Versailles recognized. Ultimately, India was not an independent country during that period, but the British officials on behalf of India reached there to attend the meeting where the terms of the Treaty of Versailles were signed in presence of three big powers, three big leaders, George Clemenceau, George Lloyd, and Woodrow Wilson. Next point, my dear students, aims and objectives of the League of Nations. There are certain aims and objectives of the League of Nations. Number one, all the states, all the countries of the world were forbidden from entering into any secret alliances and treaties by the League of Nations. And second point, all the member states were not supposed to enter. All the member countries were not supposed to maintain large armies and destructive weapons and warships. It is equally wrong. That's why the terms forbade them from increasing their military power. And next point, another point that is also important, the aims and objectives of the League of Nations. Another point, the League was established in order to establish world peace. The League was established not only to solve the disputes of different countries of the world, but at the same time the cooperation of the member states. That means the member states would extend their keen cooperation towards the process of mutual settlements by the League. And each and every information the member states were supposed to inform to the League for its mutual cooperation, for its permanent solution. But ultimately, some members and their non-cooperative attitudes, the aims and objectives of the League had become nipped in the bud. Why? Because of the non-cooperative attitude of the USA. USA did not join as a member of the League, and at the same time, this incident created nationwide dissatisfaction, and other members who were there with League, they all were disillusioned. Their aims, they all were, they all left all hopes to solve their disputes through their mutual process. And another point that is also important, the League of Nations was established with a view to solve with a view to solve the problems among the member states. The League of Nations was established to solve their disputes by bilateral discussion, but it was unable to do it so because of the non-cooperative attitude of the member states. Another important aims and objectives of the League of Nations was to provide for a peaceful change in international relations by considering international treaties that hinder peaceful relations between the nations. And next one, to supervise the working of mandatory systems and promoting human welfare, to formulate plans for the reduction of national armaments to the lowest point, and to promote cooperation between the nations of the world so as to make people's lives happier and nobler. And another point, to achieve international peace and security, to prevent future wars by establishing international relations based on justice and honor. So these are the important aims and objectives of the League of Nations, my dear student. Last point, I am going to discuss League's future. What was about the future of the League? What was about the future of the League? Now I am going to discuss. The League was unable to reach its goal. Why? Because many countries of the world did not cooperate with the aims and objectives of the League. League failed to achieve success. Why? Because of the reason Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. The aims and objectives of the League of Nations nipped in the bud. And as a result of it, so many disputes which were left by different countries, especially member states, these were not solved peacefully. And the reason for which the League was established once, the aims and objectives of the League which were, drafted, it failed to fulfill it. And the dream of the League, which was once upon a time, developed among the nation states, they were unable to realize it. Ultimately, the League's main aims and objectives, as an international political organization, the League failed to achieve its success, and only because of the reason it also paved the way of another world war, the Second World War. And what happened to them? Next day I shall discuss about it. Up to this, my dear students, thank you so much.